If you have very few friends, or no friends at all, society has probably already labeled you a loner, maybe even a failure, someone who just couldn't fit in. But what if that's not the truth? What if the real reason you don't have many friends is not because you can't connect with people, but because your mind is wired to reject the artificial? Think about it. Have you ever been in a group where everyone is laughing, but something about it feels forced? Or noticed how someone completely changes their personality depending on who they're around? Psychology shows that most people unconsciously adjust who they are just to be accepted. They wear masks without even realizing it. But if you're someone who feels disconnected from most people, it might be because you've already started seeing through that. In this video, I'm going to show you 5 rare traits that people with fewer friends usually have, and at the end of the video, you might finally understand why you've always felt different. We live in a world full of masks, and the strange part is, most people don't even know they're wearing one. They say what sounds right, they act how they're expected to, they become who they need to be to belong. But behind all of that, very little of it is real. And if you struggle to maintain a large circle, there's a strong chance you've stopped accepting that surface-level reality. Trait 1. You see through people's masks. Most people operate through a social version of themselves, a personality designed for approval. They adjust their tone, opinions, even their behavior based on who they're with. But you notice it. You notice when someone is overly nice, but only when it benefits them. You notice when someone agrees with everyone just to avoid standing out. Psychologists often refer to this as impression management, where people control how others perceive them. But for you, it doesn't feel natural. And once you see it, it becomes hard to ignore, because you're no longer talking to a real person. You're talking to a version of them. And over time, that makes most interactions feel empty. Trait 2. You crave what's real. You're not impressed by perfection, not by curated personalities, not by people who always say the right thing. You're drawn to something much rarer, authenticity. You'd rather have one honest conversation than hours of meaningless interaction. For example, someone admitting they're struggling feels more real to you than someone pretending everything is perfect. And research in psychology suggests that people who value authenticity over approval tend to have fewer but deeper connections, because real is rare. Trait 3. You've learned to understand yourself. While most people are trying to fit in, you've spent time figuring yourself out. You question your thoughts, you reflect on your behavior, you try to understand why you feel the way you do. For example, instead of reacting instantly, you step back and think. And that level of awareness is uncommon, because most people avoid self-reflection. It's uncomfortable. But you didn't avoid it, and now you see the difference between awareness and autopilot. And that makes it harder to relate to people who never question themselves. Trait 4. You don't seek validation anymore. A lot of modern friendships are built on validation, attention, replies, constant communication, but you've slowly moved away from that. You don't need to be constantly seen to feel valuable. You don't chase conversations just to feel included. And psychologically, people who rely less on external validation tend to become more independent, but also more selective, which naturally leads to fewer connections. Trait 5. You protect your peace. At some point, you realized something important. Not everyone deserves access to you. You notice patterns, like people who only reach out when they need something, or people who bring unnecessary negativity into your life. And instead of ignoring it, you create distance, even if it means feeling alone sometimes. This is known as setting boundaries, and it's not a weakness, it's a sign of emotional maturity. Having fewer friends isn't always loneliness. Sometimes it's awareness to recognize what's real and what's not, awareness to walk away from what doesn't align, awareness to stop forcing connections just to avoid being alone.
So if your circle is small or even non-existent, don't rush to fix it, because once you start seeing through the noise, you can't go back to pretending. And maybe you were never meant to follow the crowd. You were meant to understand it and choose differently. And if this video made you see yourself a little more clearly, take a second to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Because content like this isn't for everyone. It's for people who think differently.